Welcome, everyone, to our monthly chapter meeting for this month. My name is Cassie Hoover, and I'm the co-secretary as well as our social media chair. And I'll be leading the meeting today as Janice, who typically leads our meetings, is on vacation with her family. And we'll go ahead and get started because we have a lot to cover. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with Wild Ones, our mission is to promote native landscapes through education, advocacy, and collaborative action. And would love to spend just a couple of moments with folks talking about what's blooming or fruiting, I said, in your yard, because I don't know about any of you, but the reason I picked this for my cover slide is because I have finally planted enough wild strawberry and they've grown enough that I actually got to eat one and it was very exciting. I brought in five and my husband and I split them and they were delicious. And we also, in my yard, also have lots of penstemon of a variety of kinds blooming, which are really beautiful right now. But what is everyone else enjoying in their yards?
I have a lovely sweet bag magnolia that just started blooming this week, which is just, I don't know how old it is. It came with the house, but it's got these huge white flowers that smell amazing.
I love it.
I've got some sun drops and some common yarrows, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, in my front yard. And the deer just ate my asters. So overall, I guess I'm doing okay.
We thought they would give you a Chelsea chop and help you have some blooms a little bit later in the season.
Yeah, maybe. I think they ate them roots and all. I don't know.
Oh no.
I also have the wild strawberries. I have not tried to eat them yet though. And I saw, looks like my service berries might be ready, or it might be within the next week. So I'm excited for those before the birds steal them because they're super yummy. I also have common yarrow. I'm trying to go through what's in my yard. I think we're at that awkward stage. Oh, you know what? My butterfly weed looks like it's about to like pop in the next week or two as well.
Same.
I have service berry that is in berry at the moment, and so that's always pleasant to see. Just because of the way the color just seems to transition on each berry. It's not uniform across the entire berry. So some of it's red and some of it's kind of greenish, and it's delightful. And that doesn't last for long, so you need to appreciate it while it's there. But the real thriller right now is the penstemon, I think. And I think every garden should have some penstemon as a pollinator plant, because it's such a good transition period at this time of year when the spring hurrah is fading and summer really hasn't come on yet. You've got penstemon to kind of fill that gap, and I think it's important to have something blooming at just about any moment during the growing season. So it's a great bridge between spring and summer.
It also makes a really lovely bouquet. And I cut some today and put in a vase along with lady's mantle, which is also in bloom. And I also have common yarrow going on, but don't hesitate to cut the penstemon, because then you've done the Chelsea chop and you'll get more later.
I've done that too. And I'm surprised that not every flower that you cut stays nice once you put it in a vase. And what I did a week ago is still looking really good. A week's duration of anything you cut is amazing, and this is still going strong. So yeah, that's a good suggestion. Bring some
I
in.
always put the florist powder stuff in, and it seems to work.
Yeah, so penstemon it's dual purpose. You get it outside and a treat for inside.
Yeah. I was at the Hudson Home and Gardens show this past weekend, and practically every house had them in a vase of some kind. So highly recommend that
It's good to know.
variety.
Ray, your topic of Chelsea chop strikes home for me because it reminded me that I might need to do for the first time ever try to attempt it with my New England aster, because my New England aster is probably up to my chin. So for anybody that doesn't know, I'm 5'10", so this is not like
Right, right. Yeah.
this is not short. This is a very tall year for it. And I'm surprised the deer have not.
That's really interesting. Yeah, mine are not that high, but you know what? Sounds like a candidate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have deer that do the Chelsea chop on my New England aster pretty well. And, you know, I don't mind. I don't mind that, you know, that I've got, you know, some things that could be tall, but are now bushier because of the deer browse.
Right.
That's the thing about providing for biodiversity too, is
Mm-hmm.
you want to feed the animals and the bugs, but I was out in my garden. I have some yarrow as well. My Ohio spiderwort's coming in. Evening primrose is just a glow. So I think my neighbor was saying she noticed a gopher, because I have a next door neighbor that gardens, and I think this gopher chewed down my prairie dock. So the leaves got gigantic this year. It's probably a year or two before it starts shooting up flowers. But I went out to check my garden bed, and the leaves were just on the ground, but they were still like hanging on by a thread. So I took one of those yellow or those green garden stakes and stuck the leaves back up. So I'm hoping that it survives. But yeah, I don't have deer in Cleveland, but I think I have like gophers and rabbits, and yeah, they chewed down my prairie dock. So I was kind of bummed about that.
Oh.
I mean, yeah, but the root's intact. I'm sure the way I propped it up, I'm gonna put some soil in there to kind of leverage it. But I think the leaves will survive the season. I'm hoping.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers
Yes.
crossed. Well, I realize we probably should just acknowledge that Chelsea chop, for any of you who aren't familiar with the term, refers to the Chelsea Flower Show, which happens at the end of May. And there's a gardening tip for some of your plants that bloom later, like asters and goldenrod. The ones that are blooming in late summer, you can chop them by a third or a half around the time of the Chelsea Garden Show, Chelsea chop, and it'll just set back their bloom a little bit, right? Because you're chopping off part of the plant, but it'll keep them a little bit shorter and stouter. And so some folks do that. So if you're wanting a translation of that term, that's what that is. But hopefully you now have some ideas for your tablescape, as well as other plants you can add to your garden, including in the chat, coreopsis, spiderwort, and false sunflower are happening for some people now. So if you're looking for other ideas for this season that might be blooming that you eventually want to add, we have some great inspiration through our conversation here. I'll move us along to just give you a preview of the agenda that we'll be going through today. So we will have an excellent educational topic, which I'll introduce in more detail in a moment, around our less popular pollinators. Then we'll have some chapter updates for you, as well as a overview of our past and upcoming events. So without further ado, I'll talk a little bit about the educational topic. So beyond bees and butterflies, the less popular pollinators like beetles, wasps, moths, birds, and ants are ones that you can look forward to hearing about in a moment. Our speaker today is going to be Becca Zach, who's an interpretive naturalist with the Summit Metro Parks. She leads the monthly program series called Homegrown Habitat, providing some guidance on a variety of home landscaping topics. And I know she has a lot to share with us today, so I won't fully read her bio. It is on the screen, and I'm sure you've all skimmed it, but I don't want to take any more time from her presentation. So Becca, I'll stop sharing and turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Give me 1 second here. All right. Slideshow from beginning. Alrighty. So thank you, Cassie. I am just curious, for everybody in the room, who has attended a Summit Metro Parks program before? Feel free to unmute and just say like, I have, or drop something in the chat.
I have.
Anybody? Oh, yay. One person. That's good. All right. Well, maybe I'll scare you away and you might not want to. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But um, we are a community glad to see chapters of Wild Ones popping up all over the place. Super important. I too live this lifestyle, so you are in good hands tonight. So without further ado, I talked to Janice. We talked about, what kind of stuff can we talk about related to what's going on with the wildlife in our yard. So we thought about less popular pollinators. We're not going to mention bees. We're not going to mention butterflies tonight. And that's on purpose. Okay, so if you have specific questions about bees and butterflies, there's a little bit of time at the end. But I have 6 different categories of that we'll talk about tonight. And feel free to, if you have questions, drop them in the chat or unmute. That is totally okay with me. Okay, hopefully this will work. There we go. All right, so when you Google pollinator, this just always comes up, right? The stereotypical honeybee, and all the pollen, floating around. Not necessarily the case. We do know that. But bees get all of the glory. They're an important pollinator. 75% of all fruiting, flowering and fruiting plants rely on bees. For ones or ones that are kind of incidental, like, oops, I just pollinated this on accident, are some other wildlife that we need to keep in mind when we are gardening. So I found this picture online. I'd like you to go ahead. I know it's a little bit blurry, but see how many different pollinators you can see in this image. I'll give you 30 seconds or so to kind of either count them or categorize them. And then we'll play an over-under game. Alrighty, so over under 15. Who says over? Who says under?
Over.
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 Over as well.
Okay. Over, under 20.
Over.
Over.
Pretty
Over.
good. All right, I'm not gonna do this again. But as these circles kind of fill in, you can see that there are lots and lots of pollinators in this picture. There's at least 24 that I could find. Some of them do repeat, right? There's a few butterflies, there's a few moths, there's definitely a few bees, and there's at least one bird, one bat. We're not talking about bats tonight. The bats that we have in our area are not pollinators. There's some moths, there's some wasps. So there's lots and lots of diversity to pollinators. So that's what we're here to talk about tonight. Like I mentioned a few seconds ago, pollinator versus incidental pollinator. So a pollinator is a being that directly conveys pollen to a plant, resulting in fertilization. So that is what they are doing. They are after pollen, and they, you know, trade pollen in between plants. So stereotypical bee, same with some butterflies and some beetles that we'll talk about tonight. And then the incidental, oops, I brushed up against this flower pursuing things other than pollen. An example of that is a hummingbird. Another example of an incidental is butterflies. They are after nectar, and they just so happen to brush up against the pollen, but they do get a lot of glory too, just because they're usually bigger and beautiful, and people see them because they're out during the day. All right, so we're going to talk about both pollinators and incidental pollinators tonight. And I decided to go about this by introducing with a quote. I'm not going to say that expletive, but we're going to talk about flies. So bees don't waste their time explaining to flies that honey tastes better than poop. We'll say that. Okay. Who knows who said that, but I found it and I thought it was really great. Because flies are the next biggest pollinator after bees. So flies fill a really interesting little niche. This yellow dung fly is an example. You can see right in the name, they are attracted to putrid things. They will flock to any scat or dog waste at a park that's left on the ground, etc. But the one plant that they are really well known for pollinating is the pawpaw. So these guys have evolved alongside some really stinky plants. Pawpaw, ginger, even skunk cabbage, some of the earlier plants that know who's around, which are mostly flies that are around rarely early in the season. So therefore, they smell like rotting meat. And that is what attracts that pollinator to them. So yellow dung fly is just one example. We also have long-tongued flies, and these guys behave kind of just like bees. And they are able, you can see that long proboscis, they are able to get into the center of flowers and harvest both nectar and pollen with that long appendage on the front of their face. And then finally, we also have flower flies. If you've seen one of these, you probably are bee mimics. Can you guys hear me? It says my internet connection is unstable, so I hope it's going okay.
I can hear you, but
these
your
guys are bee mimics.
image did freeze for a moment.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure. Yeah, thank you. So these guys are bee mimics, but if you look close, they only have one set of wings, where bees always have two. And these guys hop around very quickly they love flowers that have umbels. So think yarrow, Queen Anne's lace, golden alexander, etc. So this is how this is going to go, is I'll explain a few types of these less popular pollinators and then how to attract them. So flies prefer disc-shaped flowers. So pictured here, we have daisy fleabane. It's nice, it's bright, it's flat, it's wide open, and that allows them to land and get into every single part of the flower. They also really like putrid odor. All right, so like I said before, some of the earlier blooming plants that need pollination, if you would like to, attract flies, which is like interesting that someone right, would say I would like to see flies in my property. I do, but disc-shaped flowers, putrid odor. They're also very much attracted to decaying things. So if you have a compost bin in your yard, that's providing them with decaying material, not only to, to eat and consume, but also to lay their eggs in. And if you're really into it, grab some manure. And those are, simple 4 different ways that we can attract different flies. Onward. Um, there are over 400,000 species of beetles on this planet, but only 8,000 species of mammal. So when we think about insects versus mammals, and then we think about just beetles versus mammals, beetles have a whole lot of diversity going on. It was really hard for me to pick some of my, top 3. This one, the locust borer beetle, this is one of my favorites. It shows up especially on goldenrod. This guy is a pollen specialist, so that's pretty much all they eat as adults, and then they will go on about their life, then boring into locust trees, and that's where they lay their eggs. The next one, which is super cool, and I have yet to find this in my yard, but is the black blister beetle. This guy and gal, whoever, all of them are very good about getting right into flowers. You can kind of see the mandibles up front there, but they too collect pollen, and it gets all over their bodies, and then that right transfers to the next flower. For these guys though, do not touch. I love going out into my yard and booping things, especially the black swallowtail caterpillars, because then they send that little tongue, the little snake tongue out. Do not touch this guy. They are toxic to the touch and when they're eaten, for, their predators. I forget off the top of my head what the chemical is, but it is a skin irritant. So just watch these guys safely from a distance and know that they are doing a great job pollinating those flowers in your yard. And finally, this is my all-time favorite beetle. I shouldn't say that because I also like, oh, never mind. All right. But anyway, red milkweed beetle. These guys look Seussian to me. They are milkweed specialists. And if you've seen one in your yard, it is just delightful. To me, it kind of looks like a little rhino or something. But they are awesome. These little guys, and move that around just within one plant. Right, so beetles don't move very, very far when they're pollinating, but they are very good at pollinating when they do land on a plant. So some ways to attract beetles. They love mints. So any flowers, like I said, that have an umbel on top, they really enjoy mints though because of that white color. So beetles are attracted to lighter colored flowers. But they also, since they don't move around very well and buzz around like pollinators, they like being able to kind of pop over from, flower to flower. Okay. Also rock piles. They need habitat to go hide, right? So some beetles will hang out right underneath flowers, but also they need soil and some rocks in order to kind of go into those little crevices so that they can hide from predators when they're not out foraging. Leaf litter, it's important for all sorts of things, but beetles especially for overwintering. And then, of course, just like all insects, they need a host plant, right? So if you want to see, especially the red milkweed beetle at home, you better plant some milkweed. But every bug has a host plant or multiple host plants. So if you are really into a specific sort of bug and you want to see it, do some research and see what that host plant is. I saw a question come in, so I'm going to look at that. Let's see. Bees are fuzzy and collect pollen incidentally. Many pollen collectors are not fuzzy and are less able to brush pollen onto themselves and consequently to other flowers. What is the relative value of fuzziness as a pollinator? That is a very interesting question. So, pollen, let's see. For bees, it's all about their size relative to their ability to get into a flower. So I wouldn't say it's as much the fuzziness as it is the size and their, robust, strong, cylindrical body that allows them to get right into a flower. It's different for each kind of insect. But they are specifically after pollen, because that is what they use, to feed their young. I hope that makes sense. If I didn't quite get that, we can talk at the end. So thank you for that, Ray. All right, next. If I be waspish, best beware my sting. That's William Shakespeare. A question with wasps. Who here wants to attract wasps to their yard? Anybody? They just kind of like, oh, if they show up, I will
I
tolerate
did.
them.
I actually did that last summer. The plant didn't come back, but I grew a late figwort, and they're great for attracting wasps. I tried to
Okay.
not make that well known with my neighbors because I don't
Yeah.
want to hear that and start calling the city because they have complained about it. So I constantly have to reassure them I know what I'm doing. But yeah,
Yeah.
late attracts wasps, and that's something I would tell us because we understand, but people that aren't in our world, they hear that and they immediately go, I'm calling the city, you have noxious plants.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah, yes
I
for
get
me.
that.
Yeah, it's a yes for me. Wasps.
Yeah.
I find them really
So
cool.
thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I have plenty of
Yeah.
wasps
I
on
love
my
like
property. Yeah.
awesome.
And
Very
and
good.
I think they help protect my vegetable garden.
Oh, they definitely
And
do.
the diversity of wasps, I'm seeing something every month that I've never seen before. As my natural habitat matures, I'm seeing more diversity in wasps, and I just find them fascinating. I am not intimidated by them. I don't threaten them, and they don't bother me.
Awesome. Yeah, we need more people that think like this. I'm just saying. Okay, because a lot of, wasps, too, they're kind of misunderstood. They just get labeled as bees. Oh, there's a bee. Any buzzing insect that look like it can sting is a bee. At least in my line of work, that's what we get all the time as an environmental educator. And why would you want more of those, right? So with wasps, this one is my all-time favorite. I am going to get it added onto the sleeve that I have working on right now. But the great golden digger wasp is one of my favorites. They are large. They are very robust in the amount of pollen and nectar they can move on a daily basis. these guys, if you have not seen one in your yard, or just out in general, they really enjoy milkweed. But they also, I see them all over my button bush. They do a great job at moving nectar and pollen around.
I've also
Blue
tried
mud dauber.
to get a close up like that. I do close up photography too, like that, and I've pushed the
Okay.
limits of close upness
Yeah.
with these wasps. I wish I could get something as wonderful as these images, but I've done that without antagonizing the wasp. You can get that close. You can
No,
stick a lens
yeah, it's
right
hard
in
to
their
do.
face within inches,
Yeah.
and they don't care.
Yep. No, I mean, they're a little intimidating, but I love getting close to them. Blue mud daubers, those are just another one. If depending on how the light strikes them, they can get, very, very metallic iridescence. These guys, as the name suggests, they build their little, I call them chimneys, but they're little larva, like it's not a house, but where they lay their eggs out of mud. Fascinating. They're chambered, so they build, the kind of outer pipe, lay an egg, they go out and grab a spider, paralyze it, shove it in there with the egg, and then put more mud down, lay another egg, go find a spider, paralyze it, and it's just like they keep going and going and going like that. It's fascinating. Wow. And finally, I do have to nod to bald-faced hornets and yellow jackets. They are native. They're not misunderstood. I will not say that, because these guys that we talked about so far, the great golden digger moth or wasp and the mud dauber, are relatively solitary. These guys form hives, and when you see, one of the kind of honeycomb looking things show up in your garage, or the big paper, home of the bald-faced hornet, it can get like, I wouldn't want one right by my front door, right? But these guys, while they are not known for pollination, they still do a wonderful job at doing it on accident. They frequently hunt along flowers. These guys are predatory, so when they're climbing around flowers, pollination occurs incidentally, on accident. But if you have not gotten up close to at least a bald-faced hornet, I highly recommend it. This past spring, I was hiking, flipped over a log, because that's what I do. Look for, anything underneath, and I found a queen. And she was about the size of my thumb. It was impressive. Super cool to find her, hunkering down for the winter, and just coming out of her hibernation. So to attract some wasps, first of all, pretty much to attract anything, you know, uh, just acquire some no spray practices. Um, Organic is better, sure, but no spray ensures that there aren't any chemicals going around, because wasps visit multiple flowers in multiple yards. They have a pretty big radius. They can carry that, pesticide, herbicide with them places and spread that. So we want to eliminate spraying. They also need some access to untreated wood. And this isn't just for, laying eggs. Some wasps, to make their nests. So untreated attract them, but give them something safe to build their home out of. Also, kick up some dirt, try to keep a clear space of dirt. When it rains, it turns to mud. Perfect, right? Some of these guys will nest just like some native bees will nest in the ground, and they need access to dirt. They also need access to dirt for the little pipes that they create as well for their young. And then finally, too, the umbels, so umbelliful flowers, think, like I said before, Golden Alexander, think Queen Anne's lace, even though it's not native, but if it's there, try to keep it under control, the best you can. A lot of pollen within a short amount of space. And they also too hunt on those, so they use them as little perches. So that will attract them as well. All right, my favorite. Moths outnumber butterflies 7-1. No moths, fewer songbirds. Less genetic diversity in native plants. Lower harvests of many popular fruits. Less joy. So, moths outnumber butterflies 7-1, but we don't know much about them because they come out at night. So, go out at night. Go see who's around. It is fascinating. All right. Some of my favorites. This is a day flying moth, snowberry clearwing moth. They're also categorized as hummingbird moths, rightfully so. To me, they kind of look like a flying crayfish, if that makes sense. Like the back looks like scales and the little flappy tail and everything. But these guys, behave kind of just like hummingbirds. So think about flowers like this blazing star here that have a really deep tube, and that will attract them. Another one that I like too, which is another day flying moth, is the Virginia tenuta moth. I didn't highlight this one specifically for any reason, all besides that they are stunning. Moths in general pollinate a lot of things. The bigger the moth, the fewer mouth parts. So when you think of a Luna moth, or a Cecropia, something like that, when they emerge from their cocoon, they don't even have mouth parts. So the big silk moths are not the pollinators. They only live for a week and they have all the energy that they need, so their sole purpose is to breed. But the smaller guys, like this Virginia tenuta, you can see the little proboscis there getting in different flowers. And look at this little sweetheart. I mean, come on, like those colors are just so beautiful. If you have not seen one of these, I highly recommend. Their host plant escapes me. But I will look that up and get back to you at the end with what that is. Okay, so gorgeous. And then finally, too, 5-spotted hawk moth. These 3 that I talked about are really good pollinators, but there's more moths. Of course, I chose the day flying ones, but there are more moths out there that pollinate at night as well. So 5-spotted hawk moth, you might know it as something different, especially if you grow tomatoes. They are the tomato hornworm. So they are native. Their larva might destroy some of your tomato plants. However, what a beautiful moth that is. They are a sphinx moth, whoever said that. Good job. All right, so if you see these guys, the caterpillars, just consider leaving at least 1 or 2 or 3, whatever, for the season. Sacrifice a tomato plant for them. because they are super cool, super efficient, important pollinators. As a side note, oh, hang on one second. So ways to attract moths. Night blooming flowers. This is for the other ones that I didn't talk about. So like this evening primrose. There's also moonflower, which is a southern species, but in the face of climate change, it'll probably be coming up here. And then any flowers that you know that would stay open, you know, throughout the day. So any fleabanes, any sunflowers, etc. The ones that stay open all, you know, 24/7. Of course, look at host plants. So this caterpillar here is the rosy maple moth, and it hosts on a variety of maple trees. So if you're trying to attract that specific kind of moth, the rosy maple, again, go for the host plant. So if you want to see a specific type of moth like a Luna, plant some sweet gum, etc. It's essential too to turn off lighting that might attract them initially, but not for the right reasons. So trying to keep, you know, disturbance to a minimum so that they can actually move in and, you know, start using your yard as a nursery. That's what we're after, not just seeing them come to a flame. And then leaf litter. I mean, I could say leaf litter for all of these guys, but leaf litter for overwintering habitat for not only adults, but cocoons with the larva inside. This is what I was getting excited about. So I went on a nighttime bio blitz a few years ago in my yard, and I specifically looked at common milkweed because I wanted to see who was using it. I highly recommend going out in your yard, middle of the summer, late at night, and just poking around, seeing who's there. So I had this tussock moth, banded tussock moth, that was out pollinating. I had this spring moth, white spring moth, who was out. There were, man, at least 10 of these tussocks, probably 50 or more of these white spring moths. Here's another tussock moth that was taken off on my button bush. I forget this one. It might be a chickweed geometer. I'm not sure. And this guy here was, I believe, one of the, oh, I'm not going to say it. Anyways, a lot of moths, right? I also saw a lot of different beetles, a lot of different grasshoppers become more active at night because it's safer to go up to the top of flowers to eat pollen. Go out at night. It's a whole different game out there. It's amazing. All right, two more. Birds. Birds chirping around you is a beautiful realization that life is incredibly good. Let this sound be a gentle break in your routine. Also, science says that when birds are calling, everything is calmer because birds would not be calling if there were predators around. So bird calls do put humans at ease as well, because deep down, you know, that instinct is still there within us. So listen to the birds. Of course, ruby-throated hummingbird. We all know about this guy, or in this case, gal. But did you know the physics and dynamics of the flower itself? So here's cardinal flower. Up top here, we have the male anther with pollen on it. So you can see that little bit of yellow up top. And then below there is the female. So the stigma that is emerging from that corolla tube. And what hummingbirds do is they get booped on the head. So it's perfect. This symbiotic relationship is not, it's on purpose. You know, they've evolved together. It makes sense. Look at how just boop right there, and then go to a different flower that maybe has, you know, male parts, female, back and forth, and that forehead acts as the, you know, pollen vector, which is super cool. All right. The other ones I'm going to talk about quickly, Baltimore Oriole, any bird really that goes after nectar. So Baltimore Oriole and then the Orchard Oriole. When I was in the waiting room and people were being left in, someone also said warblers. And yes, warblers are pollinators. Some resort to eating pollen and nectar, but also as they're going after bugs that are buzzing around flowers, they too get to, exchange pollen for plants. Lots of birds do it, but these guys do it the best. So to attract some birds, specifically hummingbirds, red and orange flowers with a really deep tube. So this is trumpet vine, which is a native vine. Of course, nectar feeding that helps them, helps draw them in. But plant red and orange flowers. Think trumpet vine, cardinal flower. They also like great blue lobelia, which I know is an exception. It's not red or orange, but native flowers get them going too. Same with red buckeye. That's another good small tree. Attracting them, not so much, but keeping them safe. Consider, installing something on your windows for bird safe windows, like these little squares there. Leading science says less than 2 inches apart because birds tend to shoot gaps, but within 2 inches, they will not try to get through that little space. And then finally, too, a lot of nectar feeding birds, not the hummingbirds, but other ones like orioles, warblers, etc., go after berries. All right, so we have a serviceberry here. I have a mulberry tree in my yard right now, and the birds are going nuts all over it. I've had cedar waxwings and gray catbirds. I'm waiting for an oriole to show up. We'll see. But lots of, berries bring birds as well. Okay, last group. I love this quote though. Ants are not only efficient, but they are also hardworking and thrifty, qualities which have always seemed like good reasons for seeing them as virtuous role models. So I too feel like I'm pretty efficient and hardworking and thrifty. Maybe I'm an ant, not sure. But let's all strive to be more like an ant. All right, so ants, again, not on purpose, but they do walk around a whole lot on plants looking for nectar. One specific plant that is very reliant on ants is bloodroot. And yes, the ants do walk around on the flower itself, but then afterward, after the flower is pollinated, the seed head here ripens, and then the last one on the right, you can see those little white appendages attached to those seeds. Those are called elaiosomes, and that is a sweet kind of sugary substance that attracts ants. They will then eat that elaisome and then pitch the seed. So that is kind of, I found this online, I wasn't expecting to, but they carry those away and eventually eat that elaisome, pitch the seed, and that is why we have stands of lots of spring ephemerals. So a lot of spring ephemerals are ant dispersed, which is called myrmecochory. I took me forever to get saying that right. But lots of little stands of bloodroot and anemone and etc. in this picture, all because of that small elaisome. So ants are important, not so much for pollination, but for dispersing those seeds. But they do incidentally pollinate as well. Okay. For ants, if you really want to attract them, you can throw down some wood chips in little piles. Also, embrace aphids. Um, some ants in my yard farm aphids. It's very interesting. But essentially they move the aphids around because aphids produce a nectar excrement, which is called honeydew. And that is what ants like actually eat off of the aphids as their excrement, which is crazy. So embrace the aphids and see more ants. They also need shallow standing water, so access to water is really important. And then finally, too, compost bin. They like those kind of sweet, like skunky smelling stuff. And they will help break down your compost as well. Okay, so I know that was like quick and dirty. I tried to do too much in 25 minutes, but that's how I am. All right. But if anybody did have any questions or anything, you can ask now, or there is my email, R, not B, but RZAK at summitmetroparks.org. And I at least hope that you learned a little something new today, or even if it wasn't learning something new, just have a newfound appreciation for some of these, pollinators that aren't bees or butterflies. So thank you very much. And I'm going to open up the chat because I see a few messages came in.
There was one one question in the chat, Becca. So Mallory has a bluebird house, and she's wondering if
Okay.
any wasps may be harmful to nestlings, and if there's anything in particular she should watch out for.
Huh. Well, I I know that wasps are not after nestlings. However, if one of the nestlings did pass away, wasps would move in to help along that process, we'll say, because they are attracted to, decaying meat and rotten meat and stuff like that. But to my knowledge, I don't think that they would, harm anything. Um, but it depends on what kind of wasp, I guess, too, because just them, if it's like yellow jackets and they have a little, colony in there, that might be very disturbing that the parents would, um, you know, leave the nest behind. So I guess it all just depends on which kind, but they wouldn't go eat them or anything like that. They wouldn't predate on them. So, yeah, that's a tough question though, because I mean, everything behaves differently. So, yeah.
Thank you. Anybody
Oh,
else
and
have any
thank you too.
questions?
I'm not going to be able to unsee flying crayfish. That's good. Whenever I see them, I think about that. It's like crazy.
They look exactly like flying crayfish, and
Yeah,
I am
yeah,
not
they
going to be able to
do.
unsee it. And it actually brings me even more joy than they originally did, which they're like amazing little
Mhm.
creatures. And now I'm also going to think about flying crayfish when I see them. So
Yeah.
I'm
Oh yeah,
excited.
and thank you too. Yeah, penstemon is another good one for hummingbirds. They really like my hairy beard tongue. They really enjoy that one specifically. And you can tell, that deeper flower shape is good. Yep. All right. Trying to think of anybody else. But yeah, Mallory, if you um write my email address down and then literally just copy and paste that and send it to me. I'm back in the office tomorrow because I want to remember this question and then learn from it. So I will definitely write back to you. And then it's just nice information to have too. But yeah. Oh, and thank you too. Yeah, Jessica, for dropping in all those pictures. That's awesome. And yeah, that is a great gold digger in that one picture. Awesome. Yeah. Let's see.
Becca, were all those your photos?
Oh no. Yeah, they're a
Okay.
combination of volunteer photos from the metro parks, and then internet searches. I'm shameless with that. I don't yeah, if it was my own photos, they'd be really blurry, but the ones at the nighttime BioBlitz, those were mine. Yeah.
Those were amazing. Now,
Yeah.
for the nighttime BioBlitz, is there anything in particular? So it looked like you had a light. Like, is there any kind of like a like setup that we should think about if we wanted to do something like that ourselves?
I mean, so you could do like a whole, moth night type of setup where you hang up a white sheet and you put incandescent lights on it. You could do that. I just went out with an LED headlamp and like looked around.
Okay.
My neighbors like 2 years ago, I moved in here in 2016. So it's been almost, 10 years now. And 2 or 3 years ago is when my neighbors finally stopped calling the cops to be like, someone's in her yard. Because they're just used to me, being out looking for things now. Um, but anyway, it's a very different perspective. When you're out there, you see a lot of different things that you wouldn't see. So anyway, I
I love
digress,
it.
but
No, no, I love
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the cops are going to get a whole bunch more calls from all
I
of our
know. Yeah,
neighbors because we're going to
maybe.
be
Who
inspired to go out
knows?
and try it.
Yeah. But no, you guys were great. If there are any follow-up questions or anything, just send them to either Cassie or Janice or just reach out to me directly. But yeah, this was fun.
Rebecca, thank you so much for putting together the presentation, for joining us, and for your
Mhm.
enthusiasm. We so appreciated learning from you tonight.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll hang out for a little bit. I just want to listen a little bit more
Of
because,
Thank
course,
you.
yeah.
please. All right, I'm going to reshare my screen and we will go through some chapter updates and then some past events and some upcoming events. So from a chapter update perspective, we had 11 new members join us since our last meeting. So welcome to Joan, Pamela, Bryce, Barbara, Andra, Frank, Danielle, Stephanie, Dennis, Emma, and Elise. And if you're not already a member, you can always join us. This website, or if you've got a phone and your computer, you can scan the QR code. As you know, many of you know, we tried to keep all of our programming free and open to the public. And it's really the power of members that really helps us do that and really to spread the word and educate and inspire others. We're always looking for volunteers, both on a permanent basis. So we have specific roles that we're looking for, as well as one-time volunteering opportunities. And so the last one that we have scheduled for June is the Bee City Festival. This is a Friday from 4 to 8. And actually, let me open my chat because I was going to drop in case anyone wanted to sign up. That the link to the Sign Up Genius, which is what we use to organize our volunteers. If you open it and you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see our previous events that have already passed previously this month. But if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see the opportunity to sign up to volunteer to table with us at the Bee City Festival. And all that is we have a Wild Ones table and we educate people about what we do at Wild Ones. We talk to them about native plants. We have, if there are kids, we have an educational matching game. It's really super fun time to meet people and to talk a little bit about native plants and help inspire and educate others.
And if I may add,
Please.
I will be there also as support. I have the adjacent slot space, my own
Awesome.
Webfoot Designs table there, but we'll do everything I can to support the Wild Ones table and the volunteers that come there. We're often overlapping and partnering on such events. So yeah, we just need a couple more hands on deck to make sure that everything goes smoothly and and we can address all of the people that are expected to come to this wonderful bee festival. Uh, uh, Wellington is a bee-friendly place and is registered with the Xerxes Society as what do they call it? A bee city. And so the Lorain County Beekeepers Association is a fantastic organization, very active, and important in educating people about honeybees, but it goes beyond that, and so we're there to kind of complement the beekeepers with what we have. So it'd be great to have a lot of people show up. So there's my plug.
I love it. That was a great plug, Ray. You knew way more details than I did. That's fabulous. So join us. We do have at least one other Wild Ones volunteer who is signed up, and she's excellent and has volunteered before. So it's also a great way to meet other members and to spend a little bit of time with them, which is also
Yeah, it
always
is.
fun.
It'll be great.
Awesome. Thanks, Ray. Okay, so now I have a couple of slides on some recent events. So we did tablings earlier this month and at the end of last month. So the Heights Eco Fest and the Cleveland Heights Native Plant Sale. And here, super cool, for the first time, the team did an activity with the kids that were there to help them find a native plant hunt finder, if you will. So a little bit of a craft and then some inspiration on sort of what plants you might be able to find that people could immediately match there. So like super simple, but also really fun and hands-on. So kudos to our volunteers who were at both of those events. We also did a native shrub softwood propagation workshop in Summit, and this was led by our excellent member, Kim, who you can see right here. So she brought us lots of cuttings of shrubs from her yard and then walked us through the steps to put sand in a milk jug that has holes punched in the bottom of it. She brought the rooting powder, so we were able to root or put the rooting powder on and then put the softwood cuttings in sand, and we're all have our fingers crossed that they will root and that we'll have new shrubs to plant. She told us it's only successful 25% of the time. So if I kill mine, I'm not going to feel bad about it because I'll just be with the majority of people. But it was super fun. We had a good time. We met lots of people. And then Jessica hosted for us the Can You Dig It native plant potting party and social. And so she has an incredible garden that has lots and lots of native plants in it that volunteers showed up to basically help thin a little bit. And then all of those, everyone got to take something home if they were interested in it. But then I think we're also probably shepherding some of those for maybe some giveaways or some plant sale later. But Jessica, is there anything you want to add about that event that you hosted? It looks like a super fun time.
Yeah, over 30 people showed up. And if anybody ever needs more native plants, there's plenty more in my yard. But we'll be also bringing probably close to 100 of these to the event that we have at the end of this month for the 1-year anniversary.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't know if I had seen like how many you potted up. So like that's a lot of plants and you still have more. And so that's the wonderful thing about native plants is once they're established, you can make many friends by giving them away or sharing the love. So that's incredible. Thank you for hosting.
Thank you.
So now we'll transition into our upcoming events, and there are quite a few of them. So get excited. Oh, and here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to drop for you into the chat. So on our website, we always have a running list of all of our upcoming events. So if you open that, you'll be able to sort of follow along. And for the ones that we mentioned have registration and the registration is available, you can just click right there and register. So the first one to highlight is coming up this Saturday. It's the Sandstone Summer Solstice Social, which is quite the tongue twister and also sounds like an amazing time. So Ray, I don't know if you want to maybe highlight some of this because I know you're kind of helping us host. You're the host with the most for this one, I think, right?
Well, yeah, thank you for asking. And this is going to be a lot of fun. I love this place. I spent a lot of time there. I've got a pollinator garden project that is very active on this site. We've got about 20 acres of this sandstone village, and I've got a nice little portion of it where I've been working for the last year or so to create a pollinator garden. It's a beautiful place. It's historically significant. There's a lot of things going on all of the time. This particular event, this coming Saturday, it's not just going to be us there. So it'll be a social event for wild ones, and we'll be able to do the potluck for, you know, whatever that has, you know. But there's going to be a plant sale. So Craig Limpock from Janice Loci is going to bring some of his plants. I'll have some of my plants. So there'll be some opportunities for natives if you want to do that. There's going to be a local honey product vendor there as well, who has some really good products, because there's a lot of this kind of thing that happens naturally on Saturdays anyhow. And the Historical Society has these resale shops on the property. You know, so if you like looking for bargains of previously owned materials, you know, there's 3 different resale shops there, plus all the historic things, and it's a fun place. And I'm going to bring a couple of kites to fly, and I hope somebody else brings kites to fly as well, because there's lots of open space to do that in, and it'll just be a lot of fun. And it'd be great to have the, you know, kites that have, you know, birds or butterflies or bees on them. I think that would be a great photo opportunity for us to have this wonderful summer inauguration with kites and photographs. So please come and join us.
Ray, that's great. And if I put on my social media hat, I agree with you. The kites would be an amazing photo opportunity that I would use in many places. So, and I also think this place should hire you as their hype man, because it sounds amazing, all of the things that are happening there. So for this one, there's no registration or anything required. Feel free to show up. Yeah, we would love to see you there.
There'll be tidbits, you know, whether you bring something or not. There'll be, you know, some things to nibble on, and, you know, it'll be very congenial.
Awesome. Thanks, Ray. Okay, so our next event is also happening this weekend. It'll be on Sunday, and it is a green up day at Impit Park. So we, as Wild Ones Greater Cleveland, last fall helped the Friends of Impit Park install their inaugural their garden here. It's a wetland garden, and so we'll be joining them to do a morning of beautification and sort of helping to maintain that new young garden. And if I'm not mistaken, Ray, did you design the design for this garden?
Yeah, that was. They invited me to do the design work, and so I gave them 3,000 square feet of garden design for this really low-lying area that was too wet to mow, and not a great place to have a lawn, but a wonderful place to have a garden. And so I set that up. And then I was also, I would say, privileged to be with them during the installation and interpret the design and help them lay it out and manage the actual work of, you know, getting it installed. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it's doing right now. I think it'll be beautiful.
Love it. It'll be in its, what do they say about native plants? Leap, creep, leap. So it'll be in a creep year, but probably looking very good from last year. One thing I will note here is if you looked at this event either online, on our social, or on our website, we originally had the wrong time. So no need to show up at 8 a.m. And indeed, it starts at 9 a.m. So I think I have fixed that everywhere now, but I did just want to call that out in case you saw it anywhere else. And here we are asking for registration so that you can get, I think there's a release for photos and so they have the right contact information. And I do believe Kate said, remember to wear boots because it has rained a little bit. And as Ray said, it is a low-lying garden. And so you will want to be prepared to get a bit mucky potentially. Our next event to highlight is a virtual event. So this will be the importance of native plants and an introduction to wild ones that I believe Allison from our team is leading. And she was on, but I don't see her anymore unless my screen got wonky on me. Here we again are asking for registration. So if you register on Zoom, the link again will be on that upcoming events. If you just scroll down, you'll get the link to it, and it'll be a nice additional virtual session that you can attend to just learn a little bit more. And feel free to invite other people, again, open to the public and free.
Cassie, quick question.
Yeah.
If you register for this, will you get a recording? Or if you're a member, do you just have access to the recordings, period?
We upload like this recording as well as this upcoming
Okay.
recording, we load to our YouTube page. And so it will be accessible to everyone publicly. I don't know if we typically send out a link to everyone that registered. Jessica, do you know? We could. We should actually. So I'll make a note if we don't.
No, no, we do not at this time.
Okay, just curious, because I'm gonna be in Olympic National Park on that day. So I won't be around, but I would love to learn more. So
But since we'll have everyone registered emails, we could easily send a follow-up once we've got it loaded to YouTube so that you've got that trigger. So I took a
cool.
note. Great call out.
Awesome. Thank you.
Our next event is our incredible 1-year anniversary celebration for our Northeast Ohio Native Habitat Corridor. So for those of you who aren't familiar with this program, it's a online initiative that we have to encourage, firstly, to encourage people to plant native plants in their yard. So one plant, hundreds of plants, everyone is welcome. And we have a map so you can register your garden and you can see in your area or across the region all of the different gardens that are accessible. We do works, not accessible, that have been posted to the gardens or posted to the website. Some of them are public and accessible. Some people are comfortable with people knowing their exact address, but you can also register yourself and not have your address shown. It'll just have pictures of your garden if you choose to share them. And if not, they'll just be sort of a general dot in your area. We launched this in May of last year, and now it's a year old, and so it's time to celebrate. So you can see some of the activities that will be taking place. We'll have guided tours. This will be at Impet Park as well, so we'll have guided tours of that garden that we were just talking about. There'll be yard games. It's family friendly. There's, I think, a recently installed inclusive playground. There'll be giveaways. You heard Jessica earlier talk about plants as one thing. Here we are requesting registration. It's on Eventbrite, and this will just help us with ordering food and knowing roughly how many people to expect. Jessica, did I forget to highlight anything important on this one?
No, just please invite friends and family. It's a free event. There's going to be food, drinks. Ray's going to be one of the guest speakers, as well as giving the tour of the wetland garden. And we have a few other people that'll be speaking as well. And just come and hang out.
Awesome. Sounds like it's gonna be an awesome time.
I actually also plan on being there. I don't know if I registered yet. I'm just getting back in the swing of things. It's been kind of a stressful month for me. So, but I'll be there. Jessica, I don't know if Jessica and Cassie, I don't know if I actually officially registered. So I'll try to knock that out today.
We will tell the bouncer to let you in, even if you forget to register. How about that,
Oh,
Dia?
no, no, I appreciate that. I'm starting to feel like myself again, and I'm just overwhelmed with, I just have to play catch up with so many things.
Of course.
So I'll make sure that I am registered for that.
Just tell
Thank you,
them
Dia.
Ray sent you.
Oh, they'll hear the voice. They'll be like, "Oh, that's Dia. We know Dia." But no, it's I was like, "Oh, did I sign up for that?" So I'll check around later when I go through emails tonight. But I think I did sign up. I'll double check. But yeah, I'm excited to see everybody there.
Great. Thanks, Dia.
Thank you.
The next one to highlight is into July now. So in early July, there'll be a butterfly puddler workshop and social, and this will be in Portage County. So in Ravenna is where Dix Park is. And the idea here is that we will create our own butterfly puddlers. And so we'll bring all of the supplies and we'll have sort of a little bit of education on what that is, and everyone will get to go home with one, which will be very cool. Again, registration will be on Eventbrite. Then in Medina County, so in Burbank, Ohio, we're planning a native bee ID field day. So it'll be at Kilbuck Lakes from 1 to 3, no registration required for this one. And we'll have some folks in the field that can help us understand what we're looking for and how to ID some of our native bees. And that should be really cool as well. Our July chapter meeting will be protecting the jewels of the night, how you can support fireflies. And one thing I wanted to call out here is that you will see that that one will be registration required. So we are transitioning from the way that we hosted this Zoom meeting, which was just an open sort of public password for all, to a registration required. And this will help us in the case of a nefarious party that wants to crash our Zoom meeting. We are trying to avoid having that happen. It would be an unpleasant experience for all of us. And so we'll send lots of reminders to have you register, and it'll be super easy. You can register once for the whole series for the rest of the year, but expect some additional communication on that because we want to make sure everyone can still access the great educational content and upcoming events, but we want to do it in a safe and secure way. So look for more communication on that. And then this event, the next one is actually being hosted by the Summit Medina chapter of the Building Healthy Communities. So they asked for a speaker to come and talk about why native plants matter. And so one of our members, Kim, who is our regional coordinator for the Summit Portage County area, is going to do this speech or this talk. But they said it was open to everyone. And so if you know someone in this area or if you're interested in attending, they gave us the Eventbrite registration to share with our members. And so that's one option if you're in that area and you're interested in attending. The next thing we have to highlight is our summer garden tours. So we're working on gathering folk. We have had some people submit their gardens. They're willing to host some folks via a tour, and we've clustered them into 3 groups. So there'll be one for the Cuyahoga County West Side area, which will be on Saturday, July 19th, the same day as the Lakewood Garden Walk. We'll have one in Lorain County, which will be on Saturday, August 9th. And then we're still working on the dates for the cluster of houses that are in the Cuyahoga County East Side area. So we don't have these up on the website yet. We're just finalizing the details so that we can publish them, but we wanted to do a save the date for you in case you're looking to get inspired by other native plant gardeners' gardens this summer. And then my last one, which you can tell we didn't get to make fancy slides for, but we put the information in here to share with you, is an additional event in Lorain for Rotary Park maintenance. So there's a native garden that Wild Ones members helped install here that we are helping to provide maintenance on. It'll be on Saturday, July 26th. And we'll have more details and a volunteer sign up coming soon on the website on that one. And then looking all the way ahead into August, in case you are already planning that far because the
Oh.
summer is flying. Oh, go ahead.
All right, Cassie, really quick. I realized I typed in the wrong month. That's July. That was my fault.
Oh, I almost took it out because I said it says August, and like we don't normally go that far ahead. Here, look, I'm fixing it as we speak, and look, the magic of the internet has happened for all of us, and now it's the correct date. So Sunday, July 20th will be Volunteer Appreciation Day, and Jessica will be hosting at her house, and so we'll have some additional details and get this one up on the website and on social too, so that people know about it and can put it in their calendars.
And one thing I just wanted to clarify with regards to volunteer appreciation, this is open to everyone. So whether you volunteered once at like a garden pot up, like we just had at my house the other week, or you helped with Friends of Impact Park, it doesn't matter. It's one time or multiple times, or you're an officer. It doesn't matter who you are. We want to show our appreciation.
Thanks, Jessica. Okay. And I think that's the end of our scheduled content. We always encourage folks to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and of course to become a member and help us reach 200 members. We're really, really close. And so that's something we think is well within our reach for this summer. Stop sharing. And thank you all for your time this evening and your engagement. I hope you learned something amazing from Becca and are super inspired to go maybe on a moth hunt or look for some of these pollinators yourself. And I hope you picked out a couple of events that you're looking forward to joining us at later this summer.